And if the most sacred dinner in history was also the moment of greatest betrayal and the beginning of something eternal, imagine being present at the most intense moment of human history. A simple room, 13 men around a table. But in that upper room, in a single night, the fate of humanity would be sealed forever. Tonight, you will discover the two secrets that Jesus revealed to his disciples in that last meal together. Secrets that have changed the world, and that can change your life as well. Prepare your heart. This is the story of the Last Supper like you never heard before. The sun was on Jerusalem when Jesus and the 12 entered the upper room. The atmosphere was loaded. Something weighed in the air. As they settled around the table, Jesus watched every face. His eyes ran down Peter, John, Andre, until they stopped in Judas. For a moment, his looks crossed. Judas diverted his eyes quickly. The disciples talked to each other, oblivious to the growing tension. But Jesus knew. I knew this would be the last time they would all be together as a family. He knew that before dawn, one of them would give him to death. But not everyone at the table knew it yet. And what was about to happen would change everything forever. Jesus took bread into his hands. His words echoed for the silence of the uppermost. Take, eat, this is my body. The disciples looked at each other, confused. What did that mean? Was it just a metaphor? Then he raised the glass of wine. The light of candles danced in the red liquid, while Jesus pronounced words that would echo for eternity. Drink of him all, because this is my blood from the New Testament. At that moment, something extraordinary happened. Jesus was not just sharing a meal. He was instituting a sacrament that would connect humanity to the divine forever. Peter took bread with shaking hands. John drank from the chalice with reverence. They did not completely understand, but they felt they were participating in something sacred and eternal. The Eucharist was born, but in the midst of love, a shadow moved. While the disciples still processed the mystery of the Eucharist, Jesus did something unexpected. Your countenance has changed. Serenity gave way to deep sadness. The silence took over the upper room. It was as if even the flames of the candles stopped dancing. All looks turned to the Master. Jesus took a deep breath. His next words would be like a sword crossing the heart of each one present there. In the midst of love, a shadow moved. Judas felt a cold in his spine. His hands were cold. Did Jesus know? How could he know? And then Jesus whispered a truth that no one was ready to hear. Truth, I tell you, one of you will betray me. Jesus' words fell like thunder in the silence of the uppermost. Peter dropped the bread. Andre stopped breathing. Thomas widened his eyes in shock. The air was dense, loaded with unbelief and terror. Is it me, sir? The question came out almost like a whisper from Peter's lips. It is me, repeated Andre, the embargoed voice. One by one, each disciple asked the same agonizing question. The heart of each one was beating, unzipped. How was it possible? Who among them would be capable of such betrayal? John, the beloved disciple, was leaning against Jesus' chest. With almost inaudible voice, he asked, Lord, who is it? Jesus wet a piece of bread in the wine and extended to Judas. At that moment, everyone's eyes turned to Judas, and he knew that everyone knew. Judas took the bread with trembling hands. His eyes found those of Jesus once more. In that look, there was no condemnation. There was a deep pain, the lament of a broken heart. "What are you going to do? Do it quickly," Jesus said low. But all heard. The upper room plunged into a sepulchral silence. The contrast was devastating. There was the personified divine love, and beside him, human betrayal in its crude form. Judas got up slowly. Each step toward the door echoed like a hammer in silence. When the door closed behind him, it was as if the darkness had swallowed part of the light of that sacred place. The remaining 11 disciples looked at each other, still in shock. How had they eaten at the same table with the traitor? How did you not realize? But Jesus was not over. He had something more to say, words that would prepare them for what would come. With Judas absent, Jesus turned to the left 11. His eyes traveled each face: Peter the impulsive, John the beloved, Thomas the questioner. All of them, with their flaws and virtues, were their chosen ones. "Little children, a little in with you." His voice was soft, but loaded with emotion. Then he started sharing the most precious teachings, words that would become the foundation of the Christian faith. "A new commandment gives you. Let you love one another as I loved you, who you also love." Peter interrupted, "Lord, where are you?" Jesus answered tenderly, "Where I will not be able to follow me now, but then you will follow me." Each word was like a balm over the wound opened by the revelation of betrayal. He talked about heavenly mansions, about the Comforter who would come, about the vine and the branches. But there was something more that he needed to do, a gesture that would forever define the meaning of Christian leadership. Jesus got up from the table. The disciples watched him curiously. What would he do now? To everyone's surprise, Jesus took a basin with water and a towel. He knelt before Peter and began to wash his feet. Peter retreated, horrified. "Lord, do you wash my feet? What I do not know you now, but then you will understand it," said Jesus with infinite patience. One by one, he washed every disciple's feet. The Master had become a servant. The King had humiliated himself as a slave. When he ended, Jesus looked at them with deep love. "If I, Lord and Master, wash your feet, you must also wash one's feet from each other. For I gave you the example that as I did to you, you make you too." In that simple gesture, Jesus summed up all his message. To love is to serve. To lead is to serve. To live is to serve. When the last lesson had been given, when the last words of comfort had been pronounced, Jesus looked up at heaven. There, in that simple cenacle, he made the most beautiful prayer ever recorded in history. A prayer not only for the 11 present, but by all who would believe through the times. "Father, sanctify them in your truth. Your word is the truth. And I do not pray only for these, but also by those who are believed to believe in me." The words flowed like a river of love and intercession. Jesus was praying for you, for me, for every person who would once hear his message. When the prayer ended, a sacred silence stopped over the upper room. It was as if heaven himself had descended to that place. Crucial moment, and then the time has come. Jesus knew that Judas had already made his choice. The soldiers were coming. It was time to leave for Gethsemane. Jesus got up from the table for the last time. The disciples followed him, still trying to sue everything they had lived on that extraordinary night. As they walked the dark streets of Jerusalem toward the Mount of Olives, the words of Jesus echoed in their minds. The Eucharist had been instituted. Forever, Christians would have a way to connect with the sacrifice of Jesus. The betrayal had been revealed, showing that even in the most intimate circle, the choice between light and darkness remains ours. The final teachings had been given: love, humility, service. The DNA of the Christian faith was complete. Peter walked in silence, the words "Thou shalt follow me" still echoing in his heart. John rethought every moment of that sacred night. Thomas questioned internally if he really understood everything he had witnessed. None of them knew that in a few hours, everything would change forever. As they approached the Garden of Gethsemane, Jesus stopped and looked once again to his disciples. Those simple men, fishermen, tax collectors, zealots, would carry their message to the whole world. In the Last Supper, Jesus had planted 2 seeds that would grow until he became pillars of the Christian faith: the Eucharist, remembering your sacrifice and continuous presence between us, and the example of sacrificial love, showing that even in the face of betrayal, love remains. That night, in the simple cenacle, Jesus had changed the world. He had turned a meal into a sacrament, disciples into apostles, and a farewell into eternal promise. Each time Christians departed bread and shared the wine, they would be back to that upper mate. Each time they chose to love instead of betraying, they would honor that Last Supper. In that final supper, did Jesus prepare his disciples to the cross or to the coming world? Maybe he prepared them for both. If this story touched your heart, leave a comment telling you which moment has impacted you the most. Share this video with someone who needs to know the true meaning of the Last Supper. And subscribe to the channel for more biblical stories that can transform your life. The Last Supper was not just a meal. It was the moment when God's love became tangible to all mankind. May the lessons of that sacred night keep echoing in your heart. Until the next video.